Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 72 of The Loud House, Tea-Tale Heart. We begin this segment at the Loud House, where we see Lola entering Lynn and Lucy's room. Lola is hoping that Lucy can show her how to put together an eyeshadow style called Cat Eye. Lola then notices that Lucy has a doll that Lola hasn't seen before, but Lola takes an immediate liking to this doll, and Lola inquires Lucy about where Lucy got the doll. Lucy reveals that the doll originally belonged to Great Grandma Harriet, and Lucy found the doll in a trunk in the attic. Lola wastes no time in saying she wants to throw a tea party for the doll, but Lucy is against this idea. Lucy explains that the doll is extremely fragile, and she spent a great amount of time putting together a coffin to protect the doll. Lola argues that the doll is too beautiful to not be played with, and Lola tries to convince Lucy that she can be trusted with the doll. Lucy clarifies that it's not a matter of her not trusting Lola, it's a matter of the twins' room being particularly chaotic. Lucy's point is then proven when we see some of Lana's pets pulling Lana while she's riding a skateboard in the hallway. And we then hear some crashing sounds, and we hear Lana apologizing for accidentally breaking some items. After that happens, Lucy reiterates to Lola that she doesn't want to take any risks and wants to make sure that the doll is safe. So Lucy then closes the door to her and Lynn's room, and Lola grumbles to herself that she will find a way to play with the doll, no matter what it takes. The scene changes to the next day. Lola enters Lynn and Lucy's room, and she has a long piece of paper with her. Lola prepares to give a speech explaining reasons for why she can be trusted with the doll. But Lynn says that Lola shouldn't bother with the speech because Lynn isn't... Lynn says that Lola shouldn't bother with the speech because Lucy isn't here right now. Lynn explains that Lucy has gone to a poetry convention for the day, and Lynn then realizes that Lucy's breakfast is still downstairs. Lynn calls it extra breakfast, and then Lynn rushes downstairs to claim what would have been Lucy's breakfast. Lola, on the other hand, is happy about this golden opportunity. Lola is confident that she can have a quick tea party with the doll and return the doll to the coffin before Lucy returns home. So Lola takes the doll and brings the doll into her and Lana's room. Lola then introduces the doll to some of her toys, and Lola decides to give the doll a name. Lola gives the doll a very long name, but also decides to call the doll Rosie for short. So Lola then proceeds to pour tea for all of the toys that are sitting at her tea table, including the doll Rosie. Lola then decides that she wants to put some sugar cubes in the teacup for the doll. So Lola puts the sugar cubes into the teacup, but when she does so, this causes some tea to splash on the doll's dress, and Lola begins to panic. Lola also talks to some of her toys, inquiring her toys about if the stain is noticeable. Of course, the toys don't respond, but Lola acts like they did respond, and that happens a few other times in this segment. Lola talking to her toys not responding, but Lola acting like the toys did respond. But in any case, Lola tries to calm herself down and tries to think of a way to remove the stain from the doll. So the scene changes to the basement. Lola prepares to go to the basement, and she also brings her teddy bear, Mr. Sprinkles, with her. She says Mr. Sprinkles is coming for emotional support, in Lola's words. So yes, Lola heads to the basement, and she's preparing to put the doll's dress into the washing machine. But when Lola removes the doll's dress, she sees that the stain wasn't just on the doll's dress, but the doll itself. But Lola tries to calm herself down and figures that she can probably put the doll's body into the washing machine too. But Lola acknowledges that the doll's head would be too fragile and would break within the washing machine. So Lola tries to remove the doll's head so she can put the doll's body into the washing machine. But Lola's having a hard time removing the doll's head, and eventually Lola pulls too hard and she drops the doll's head, and the doll's head actually cracks on the floor. And Lola panics even further, and she's trying to figure out what to do next. So Lola then gets an idea. So Lola heads up to Lincoln's room. Lincoln is putting together a model spacecraft. So Lola sneaks into Lincoln's room and she takes the glue when Lincoln isn't looking, and Lola does succeed in this objective. Lincoln only realizes that the glue is gone when he reaches for it, but he has no idea where the glue is. So Lola is in her and Lana's room now, and she's applying the glue to the crack that's on the doll's head. And yes, we see though that the results aren't very pretty, to say the least. The glue is very noticeable. The crack is still noticeable even with the glue. Yes, the doll's head has seen better days, to say the least. So Lola is wondering if maybe she could cover the crack with the doll's hair, but this backfires and most, if not all, of the doll's hair falls off. So yes, the doll head looks even more destroyed compared to earlier. And Lola questions if things could possibly get any worse. So Lola returns to the basement after the doll's body and dress have been through the washing machine. But the doll's body and the doll's dress are now pink, and Lola questions how this happens. But then Lola notices that Lana's hat was in the washing machine too. Lola grumbles that this was the one time of the year that Lana actually put her hat in the washing machine. And so Lola decides that, Lola gives up and decides that there's nothing she can do to fix the doll. But then Lola gets an idea. Yes, Lola decides that she can't fix the doll anymore, but she does think of an alternate solution. So Lola enters Lori and Lenny's room, and she gives Lori some money. Lola gives Lori some money and says that she needs a ride to the antique district. That's what Lola calls it. And she says that, yeah, she's giving Lori the money not just for the ride, but also so that there will be no questions. Yes, Lola wants a ride to the antique district without any questions. And so Lori does agree to Lola's request. So we see Vanzilla arrive at the antique district, and Lola enters an antique shop while Lori goes to circle the block. That's what Lola says. Yes, Lola suggests that Lori circle the block until Lola has finished her errand at this antique store. So Lori goes to circle the block, and Lola enters the antique store. Mr. Sprinkles is with her, by the way. So Lola finds a shelf full of various dolls. And yes, Lola is inspecting all of these different dolls, and eventually she finds one particular doll. While talking to Mr. Sprinkles, Lola figures that this particular doll is a doll that could be modified to look like the original doll, Rosie. Lola comments about some of the things that she'll have to do to modify the doll so that it will resemble the original doll, but she thinks that she'll be able to pull off this this plan, modifying this other doll to look like the original doll. So Lola takes this particular doll, and she goes to the counter to pay for the doll. and she also has to pay a little more because Lola accidentally broke some fragile equipment when, Lola accidentally broke some fragile items when she slammed some money on the counter, so Lola has to pay a little more to pay for those destroyed items. So back at the Loud House, time has passed by. Yes, time has passed by. We're back at the Loud House, and Lola is starting to modify the doll that she bought from the antique store. And eventually, the results show that Lola was successful. Lola was able to modify this other doll so it looks like the original doll, and Lola then proceeds to sneak out of her and Lana's room so she can sneak the other doll into Lynn and Lucy's room. But she sees Lincoln is out in the hallway and greets Lincoln, although she says something suspicious. She comments about the weather. And Lincoln is a bit confused about Lola's comment, but doesn't give it too much other thought, or he doesn't give it too much thought afterwards. And Lincoln inquires if Lola has seen the glue that he was using earlier for the model spacecraft. Lola notices that the glue is on the table in her and Lana's room, so Lola quickly closes the door, and she claims that she hasn't seen the glue, but Lola acts rather antagonistic when giving this answer, and she also makes a very specific comment. She accuses Lincoln of thinking that she's some glue swiper, or that's along the lines of what Lola says anyway. Lincoln just comments that Lola doesn't need to be so angry and closes the door to his own room. Lola, though, insists that she's not angry, even though she says this in an angry tone. And after that, Lola then sneaks into Lynn and Lucy's room. And Lola puts the replacement doll into the coffin, closes the coffin, and then Lola then returns to her room to get the original doll that's now been destroyed. Lola comments about how it's a shame that Rosie has been destroyed now. But Lola says that all that can be done now is that Rosie needs to be disposed of so that Lucy will never know that the replacement doll is in fact a replacement doll. Lola then goes outside, and she goes through the crawl space. Lola then goes to the crawl space of the Loud House, and Lola is talking to the doll, saying that she has to hide the doll, or else. Lola says to the doll that she needs to hide the doll, or else the consequences could be dire if Lucy were to find out, or she says something along those lines. So Lola puts the doll in the crawl space, and Lola leaves the crawl space, and she hopes that's the end of it. But the next day rolls around, and when Lola wakes up, she greets her toys, and eventually she finds that the doll is back in her and Lana's room. And Lola is surprised about this. She was sure that she put the doll in the crawl space. But then Lola considers the possibility that maybe she was just having a... Lola then considers the possibility that maybe her putting the doll in the crawl space was a dream. She comments about how... Lola says something along the lines about how cheese before bed gives her nightmares. So Lola decides that she needs to find a different place to get rid of the doll. So nighttime rolls around, and Lola digs a hole out in the backyard near Charles's doghouse, and then she buries the doll in this hole. And Lola comments about how, Charles notices this, but Lola insists that Charles saw nothing. And Lola says, you saw nothing to Charles. Those are the words she says to Charles, and Charles is quite nervous, to say the least. So the next day rolls around, and when Lola wakes up, she finds that Lola wakes up and she finds that the doll is back in her and Lana's room. and Lola is surprised about this. Lola comments that she knows for sure that putting the doll, digging a hole in the backyard and putting the doll in that hole wasn't a cheese dream. Lola is sure of it. So Lola figures that she's going to have to, after this happens, Lola decides that the doll must be haunted, and then decides that that makes sense considering Lucy had the doll before Lola took the doll. But Lola decides that there's, even figuring that the doll is haunted, Lola still vows to find a way to get rid of the doll. So this time Lola puts the doll in the trash can, and Lola sees that the garbage truck is coming. So Lola knows that the doll will be going to the dump. So yes, Lola is confident that Lola is confident that this time the doll will be gone. And then Lincoln is taking out some garbage, and he inquires Lola about how she's doing. And Lola accuses Lincoln of interrogating her, or she says something along those lines, and says Lincoln should just mind his own business, and then storms off. And Lincoln questions why Lola is acting so angry. Lola insists that she's not angry, even though she says this in an angry tone. So the next day rolls around, and Lola wakes up, and she finds that the doll is back in her and Lana's room yet again. And Lola is furious about how this doll just keeps coming back. So Lola decides that there's one other place she can think of to get rid of the doll. So Lola puts the doll in a bag, and then Lola puts the doll in the bag, and then she exits her and Lana's room and prepares to head off somewhere. She happens to run into Lincoln, and Lincoln inquires where Lola is off to. Lola, though, responds in a rather angry manner, saying that she doesn't understand why Lincoln keeps popping up where she is, and Lola questions if Lincoln should be hanging out with Clyde. Lola questions why Lincoln isn't hanging out with Clyde right now, and Lincoln responds that Clyde is having a weekly therapy appointment. Clyde actually invited Lincoln to participate in this weekly therapy appointment, but Lincoln declined the invitation for whatever reason. But Lincoln notices that Lola has already left, and Lincoln just decides to Lincoln has an annoyed look on his face, but he just rolls with it otherwise. So after that, we see that Lola is in her toy car, and she reaches Flip's food and fuel, and Lola inquires Flip about if he still has a boat. Flip does say he has a boat. Flip says that it depends if Lola has something to do with some tax people, but Lola clarifies she has nothing to do with tax people since she's only 6 years old. And Flip does confirm that he still has the boat, but mentions that Flip mentions he has the boat and inquires why Lola wants to know. Lola says that she needs a ride to the Tall Timbers pond. She wants this to happen at midnight, and she wants to go to the area where the dock lights aren't functioning. Flip does say that, Flip figures what kind of trip. Flip figures out what sort of objective Lola has in mind, but he does mention that this process isn't going to be free. Lola, though, assures Flip that she has the money to pay Flip for this objective. She mentions that she lost a lot of baby teeth recently. So time passes by. It's now midnight. We head to Tall Timbers Pond, and Flip is rowing the boat with Lola in the boat. And eventually, they do reach a spot within the pond. Lola figures that this spot will suffice, and Lola pulls the doll out of the bag. She then she also pulls out some rope and ties the doll to a brick so that the doll will sink. So Lola throws the doll attached to the brick into the pond, Yes, Flip is notably nervous about what just happened. Lola questions why Flip is looking at her the way he is. Flip, though nervously, says he doesn't want any trouble, in his words. And Lola says that Flip won't get any trouble if he stays quiet about what just happened. So Lola and Flip then leave, and the scene changes to the next day afterwards. So Lola Lola wakes up and she finds that the doll has returned to her and Lana's room. And this causes Lola to panic, and she actually rushes to Lucy's. Lola rushes to see Lucy in Lynn and Lucy's room naturally, and Lola quickly. While Lola is panicking at first, she wants to barricade. She wants to barricade the door to Lynn and Lucy's room. But after Lucy calms Lola down by inquiring her about what's going on, Lola then admits that Lola then takes a chance. Yes, Lola then admits that she took Lucy's doll and accidentally destroyed the doll, and said that the doll has been haunting her. And Lola proceeds to apologize to Lucy for taking the doll without Lucy's permission. Lucy, though, is confused because when she opens the coffin, she sees the replacement doll, which she thinks is the actual doll. But Lola then admits that she created that, or she bought a different doll and modified that other doll to look like the original doll, and then shows Lucy the original doll. And Lola then brings Lucy to Lola and Lana's room, and then she shows Lucy what happened to the original doll. And Lucy is surprised that the doll looks very destroyed. Lucy actually inquires Lola about how the doll became so destroyed. Lola admits that it started with a tea stain, but then she just says that things just became worse and worse after the tea stain, or it snowballed into a worse situation starting with a tea stain. And Lola berates herself, or Lola beats herself up, saying that she's a horrible sister, or she says something along those lines. But Lucy assures Lola that she doesn't think Lola is a bad sister. Lucy assures Lola that she forgives Lola, and she acknowledges that Lola didn't mean to destroy the doll, it was just an unfortunate accident. Lola thanks Lucy for accepting her apology, and Lola pleads with Lucy to get the doll to stop haunting her. Lucy, though, figures that the haunting was probably because Lola took the doll without permission. Yes, Lucy suspects that the doll was haunting Lola because Lola took the doll without permission, but figures that since Lola admitted her error and returned the doll to Lucy, then she figures that the haunting is probably going to stop from here on out. And Lola is glad to hear this, and she takes another chance to apologize for what happened to the doll. But Lucy assures Lola that there's no hard feelings. Lucy says that she likes the doll even more now that she knows that the doll can haunt other people. And so Lucy leaves with the doll, and Lola comments to herself that it should be expected that Lucy would like a doll that haunts other people. So later on, we see we see some of Lana's pets pulling Lana while she's riding a skateboard in the hallway, like earlier in the segment. And eventually, Lana's pets actually go into Lynn and Lucy's room, and they go underneath Lynn's bed. And Lynn also happens to be in the room right now. So Lana apologizes to Lynn about Lana's pets going into Lynn and Lucy's room. Lana admits that she's still trying to train her pets, but Lynn assures Lana that there's no hard feelings. Lynn says that she figures that they're probably trying to find some food that's underneath her bed. A sandwich is what Lynn says. Lana notices the doll. Yes, Lana then notices the destroyed doll on Lucy's bed, and Yeah, Lana comments about how she's going to have to bring the doll back to Lana comments about how it looks like Lola's doll ended up in a different area, and she's preparing to bring the doll back to her, Lana, and Lola's room, but Lynn clarifies that the doll is actually Lucy's doll, and Lana is surprised to hear this. Lana admits that she was under the mistaken belief that the doll was Lola's, and Lana proceeds to mention that she found the doll in all sorts of different locations. She mentions the crawl space, being buried in the backyard near Charles's doghouse. Then she found the doll at the dump, and then found the doll at Tall Timbers Pond. Lana was there to visit some fish friends of hers. And Lynn and Lana don't realize why the doll ended up in those particular locations. And Lynn questions if Lana has any ideas about how it ended up in all those places. Lana, though, just decides that, just figures that some things can't be explained. And Lynn decides, Lana has a point there. So Lana then, Lana manages to get her pets from underneath Lynn's bed. So Lana and her pets then leave Lynn and Lucy's room. And Lynn is then looking at the doll, and the doll falls over, and this causes Lynn to panic, and that is how we end this segment. So, like its sibling segment, this segment was a Halloween-themed entry, episode 72 was the third season entry of The Loud House that was dedicated to the holiday of Halloween. Episode 72 was similar to, this season 3 entry was similar to a season 1 episode where both the A segment and the B segment had entries that were that had a Halloween-esque theme to them, but they weren't actually set on Halloween. So, season 2 was the season that actually had a Halloween episode, but season 3 and season 1 each had an episode that had an A and B segment that had a theme similar to Halloween, or they had entries that had a Halloween theme to them or a Halloween vibe to them, but they weren't actually set on Halloween. So in the case of this segment, the B segment for episode 72, the Halloween theme for this entry was the idea of a haunted item, or an allegedly haunted item. So for this segment, you could say Lucy and Lola were the spotlight characters, but Lola was the viewpoint character since we were following the segment through Lola's perspective. And yes, one of the things I liked about this segment was the fact that Lucy and Lola were the spotlight characters, because, I would say Lucy and Lola are a duo of Loud sisters that we don't usually see interacting one-on-one with each other. I would say that seeing Lucy and Lola interact with each other one-on-one seems to be a rarer occurrence compared to some of the other interactions. Like, I would say it's more common for Lucy to interact with, say, Lynn, and in Lola's case, I would say it's more common for Lola to interact with Lana, for example. But so seeing Lucy and Lola interact with each other one-on-one was something that I liked about this segment. And it is pretty interesting because throughout season 3, there were entries where Lucy interacted with Loud sisters that she doesn't usually seem to interact with, or she doesn't interact with certain Loud sisters as often when compared to other Loud sisters one-on-one or two-on-one in the case of Lori and Lenny. Fandom Pains showed Lucy interacting with Lori and Lenny without really interacting with the other Loud sisters. Head Poet's Anxiety showed Lucy interacting one-on-one with Luann, and this segment showed some one-on-one interaction between Lucy and Lola. So I would say Lucy, we did get to see quite a bit of combinations of Loud sister dynamics that we don't usually see, or that are rare when compared to other Loud sister dynamics, and they all involved Lucy in some way. So I thought that was a pretty interesting detail. But so Lucy and Lola were the spotlight characters for this segment, but Lola was the viewpoint character. We were following the segment through Lola's perspective, because Lola wanted to play with Lucy's doll, which originally belonged to Great Grandma Harriet, but Lola ended up destroying the doll, albeit accidentally, and Lola's attempts to fix the doll became worse and worse, or yes, it snowballed into a much worse situation. And eventually, Lola managed to buy another doll, modify it to look like the original doll, and she tried to dispose of the original doll, but that didn't end up working. And that's where the Halloween theme of this segment came from, Lola coming to the conclusion that the doll was haunted. But we found out by the end of the segment that the doll wasn't really haunted. Lana just kept finding the doll in all of those different locations and bringing the doll back to their room, being under the mistaken belief that the doll was Lola's doll. So I thought that was pretty, you could say that was actually pretty heartwarming that Lana actually went through the trouble to bring the doll back to Lana and Lola's room. You could say it was heartwarming how Lana was looking out for Lola. Of course, Lana wasn't aware of the fact that Lola was the one trying to get rid of the doll, and there was a reason why Lola kept trying to get rid of the doll, but yeah, you could say it's the thought that counts. Lana wasn't aware of what Lola was doing with the doll. Lana just thought that Lola misplaced the doll somehow and just decided that she would return the doll for Lola's sake. So it was pretty heartwarming, even though it ended up leading to Lola thinking that the doll was even though it ended up leading to Lola thinking that the doll was haunted or paranormal in some way. Although it also did have the silver lining of leading to Lola admitting to Lucy that she did take the doll without permission, and she did apologize for it. And it was also heartwarming how Lucy didn't hold a grudge against Lola about it. Lucy did acknowledge that Lola didn't mean to destroy the doll. It was just a tragic accident, or it was just an unfortunate accident that the doll was destroyed. And Lucy did appreciate that Lola at least tried to fix the doll, even though it ended up becoming worse. But it's the thought that counts. Although Lucy also ended up being happy with the idea of a doll that was haunted. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting how they were able to go about that Halloween theme. But it also did lead some heartwarming moments, both on Lana's end, and it was also heartwarming to see Lola acknowledge her mistakes and apologize, and Lucy assuring Lola that she knows that Lola didn't mean any ill will and that things just spiraled out of control. But it was nice to see that they're all on good terms again. Or yeah, Lucy and Lola are on good terms with each other. There's no hard feelings. And yeah, it was heartwarming that Lana was looking out for her twin sister, even though she didn't know the full context of what was going on. It actually reminded me of a Hey Arnold episode where a statue, where Phoebe felt like she was haunted by a statue, when in reality the statue was constantly being returned to Phoebe by other people finding the statue when Phoebe tried to get rid of the statue. It sort of reminded me of that segment, but yeah, I thought that was, it did remind me a bit of that Hey Arnold segment, but the execution was still different in some ways. There still were specific details that were different that gave it a different, a different spin or a different approach. And this kind of highlights why I do think execution is what's most important, because you can have a general plot line that's similar, but certain specific details can still give you a different experience when you watch two different entries that have similar plot lines to them. Otherwise, I think that this segment did give us a little more insight on Lola's character. I thought that was a nice touch that we actually saw Lola talking to her toys and acting like the toys were responding to her. That does remind me of some kids I knew in I do remember that seems to be an occurrence with some kids. Some kids will talk to their toys like the toys can talk back to them, but it's more like a way for kids to express what they're thinking right now, a way for them to vent their thoughts, so to speak. And it actually does remind me of certain other it does remind me also of some other works of fiction that do something similar. Or yes, I remember there are some works of fiction where a character will talk to talk to a pet or an animal that can't talk back as a way to project their thoughts or to convey their thoughts out loud. Yeah, I've seen that done before in works of fiction where characters will talk to either animals or inanimate objects as a way to vocalize their feelings, because otherwise there isn't someone who can talk back to them or someone who can talk to them in return. So yeah, that's what it reminded me of here when Lola was talking to her toys. And it does remind me of something I do remember some kids doing. Yeah, I do remember some kids doing that back when I was younger. I think I did it too. I'm pretty sure I talked to some of my toys when I was younger too. So yeah, it brought that to mind since Lola is 6 years old. Although, yeah, this segment also shows how Lola doesn't always act like a usual six-year-old. The way how she intimidated Flip. Yeah, some fans definitely thought that was, or yes, that reminded some fans of an earlier entry where Lola mentioned watching some mob movie. Or, yeah, I do remember a few entries where Lola mentioned watching some mob movies or gangster movies or something like that. And I think there was a TV show about prison pageant or prison princesses, something like that. There was some prison themed, or Lola seems to watch a lot of works of fiction that relate to prison or mobs or crime in some way, and I thought that reminded me of that. Or yeah, the way Lola acted with Flip here, and I guess you could say Charles the dog too. That sort of reminded me of that. So you could say that's another minor example of serialized elements being present in the show, calling back to Lola's fondness of prison-themed works of fiction. So otherwise, I would say that probably is about it for this particular segment. So like I said, I did like how I thought this was another fun Halloween-themed entry. Going with the idea of an alleged haunted item, but it ended up not actually being haunted. It was Lana who kept returning the doll, but Lana did so for good intentions. Lana didn't realize that Lola was trying to get rid of the doll, and that the doll wasn't even Lola's to begin with. And I did also like how we saw Lucy and Lola interact with each other, since I would say Lucy and Lola one-on-one interactions seem to be rather rare when compared to other one-on-one interactions between certain Loud sisters. And I did think that it was also heartwarming how Lola did eventually admit that she took the doll without permission and did apologize for it. And it was also heartwarming how Lucy assured Lola that she didn't hold a grudge against Lola and acknowledged that Lola didn't mean to destroy the doll, and that Lola did at least try to fix the doll, even if her attempts to fix it ended up backfiring. And Lucy actually likes the idea of having a doll that she thinks is haunted. And yeah, while it is a small detail, I did like the idea. I like the fact that they mentioned that the doll originally belonged to Great Grandma Harriet. It gives us a little more insight about the extended family members of the Loud family. And we have seen a bit of Great Grandma Harriet before, or I should say there were entries that talked about Great Grandma Harriet before, so it was nice to have a little more insight on Great Grandma Harriet's character. And I'm hoping we will get to learn more about her and other extended family members of the Loud family. But otherwise, yeah, I would say that's it. So as of this video, we've now discussed the B segment for episode 72 of The Loud House on this channel. Take care, and until next time,